Hello and welcome to the Real Life Show. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jonathan. This is a platform where we get to engage, interact, and learn from icons, gurus, moguls, trendsetters, trailblazers, difference makers, and world changers. You know what I'm talking about, and talking about world changing. The man sitting next to me is the real deal. Created some history. He's a game changer, according to the words of one doctor I heard when they were doing a walk. But ladies and gentlemen, he's got a lot of things that he has achieved right here in our country. I can say he's been a millionaire at a young age, hosted big conferences where he's had the honor to have, you know, the former president of Zambia as the guest of honor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm simply talking about the radical entrepreneur, aka Dumisani. How do you pronounce that word? That name?
Dumisani Ncube.
So how are you doing?
Ncube. Very well. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's a holiday. You're still in a suit. What's happening?
Oh yeah. Well, we are doing something. Oh, it's a holiday actually. Yeah. It's sometimes difficult to remember when it is a holiday and when it is not.
Are you ever in casual?
No, I am.
Okay.
There's a certain boutique that gave me boots, a jean, and a casual shade.
I remember that, brother. Yeah.
Yes. So I have a jean officially. I have
you have one jean.
I have one jean.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now you have an interesting and amazing story from the village to town. You've told this story a couple of times, you know, in conferences. But for my audience, the people that don't know who the radical entrepreneur is and where he comes from, can you run us through that journey briefly?
All right, great. So I was born at a village. You know, thatched house, no electricity. I first saw electricity when I was 10 years old, and I've always shared this. Grew up in a poor background. In fact, we are so poor such that the poor called us poor. You know. So then I got to Matero Boys Secondary School, where I first got to know how poor we were, because Matero Boys Secondary School is a very special school. The cutoff point is very high. So those from poor backgrounds want their children to be there. The cutoff point is high, but fees are affordable. So those from poor backgrounds want their children to be there, and those from very well-to-do families also want their children to be there. So it is one of the few schools where the rich and the poor get to meet. So it was there that then I realized how poor we were. So it was from there that I resolved that I needed to be successful. So then that led to the start of my entrepreneurship journey, you know, selling pamphlets at Matero Boys. Then from there I got to the village, started a kiosk. From a kiosk, a cantemba. It was simple basic things, you know, cooking a bit of salt, and not in big sachets really, because like having 3 bottles of 750 mils of cooking oil, just 3 of those would beat my chest and say we are stocked up, because we used to sell in smaller bottles of glycerin, which are like 25. Yes.
So you'd order stuff from here and then go resell in the village?
Then take to the village. So from Cantemba, I got to trading in gods. And that was all through my teenage years. And I began importing things from Botswana, then later on South Africa. And then I was just about 17. So that was my journey then. But unfortunately, I was robbed of my capital in South Africa in 2010, 12th March. But it was a blessing in disguise, because the same year later on, we then founded what is known as Glad Tidings Software Limited with 2 other friends, which gave birth to a product called Glad Tidings eSchool, which is the most used school management system in the country. So that is what gave me a turnaround in my life. And from that, I was then able to buy trucks, you know, invested in transport, because it was my childhood dream. Then at 25, that's how I got to, you know, start DLN Technologies, which is a company that provides smart card printers. So for those that want to do identity cards in universities, I think almost all universities are using our products. Most of the banks are using our products. That's why now when you go to a bank, you would get your ATM card on instant issuance. So a number of banks are using our product. So that is the company that I have actually been running up until recently, when I founded DLN Entrepreneurship Institute, which is a company that trains in practical entrepreneurship.
Great. Now, so what was your first business?
I don't know what you'd call the first business.
Selling pamphlets?
Yes, selling pamphlets, yes. Okay. But the first company, registered company, was Glad Tidings Software Limited.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want to understand your first business, first of all, was selling pamphlets.
Yeah.
How much was your capital?
All right. So what I used to do then was those that wanted the pamphlets, they would then pay. When they pay, I'll then deliver the following day. So then I used to go make copies at City Market. So I would photocopy from there, then deliver the following day. So if you had to look at it in terms of financial capital, I did not put in any financial capital. What I put in was intellectual capital, and I believe this is where we tend to miss it. Most people say, I do not have capital, and when they say I do not have capital, what they are in essence saying is that I do not have financial capital.
Yeah, cash.
You know. But financial capital is important, yes, but it has its own place.
Yeah.
The most important form of capital is intellectual capital.
Great.
You can utilize your brains to start a business. So we need to realize that if we had to fully utilize our intellectual capital, there is so much more that we can achieve.
So you've never worked in any organization?
I've never worked in any organization. I've never been employed.
Amazing. Where did the name The Radical come from? The Radical Entrepreneur.
Okay, so the Radical Entrepreneur, it is just my approach to entrepreneurship, which is quite radical. I remember at one time, and also feeding into the issue of, our capital, like financial capital.
Yeah.
I remember very well in 2010, the same 2010, 2011, one man wanted the motorbike, and then the cheapest motorbikes, it was like Honda Zambia, it was 15,900, and the other brand was Yamaha, then it was like 24,000, Suzuki, it was like 34. So then I told this man to say, you want a motorbike? I can source one for you for 8,000, but they will not be as big as this, it will be slightly smaller. So then I told him, but if you paid me 5,000, and then I can bring it to you, then you can pay me the 3,000. So the man agreed to give me 5,000. So he gave me 5,000, got on a bus, got to a place called Katete, disembarked there, got on a taxi to Chanida border, got on a truck to a place called Tete in Mozambique. When I got that side, I truly found motorbikes to be cheaper, and of course, even just the whole environment there, people don't speak English, so even negotiations on a calculator, But finally managed to buy one. But in the process, one guy was able to explain in Nyanja a bit to say, you see, with 1 liter of fuel, you can ride for 150 kilometers. Per liter. So quickly, I got to think, okay, fine, how many kilometers is it from here to Zambia? So did the calculations, and I realized that it was cheaper to ride it
than to actually put it
on a bus or truck. So at that point, but there's a problem. I don't know how to ride a bike, and I've never ridden one. So then I told the guy to say, show me how to ride.
Wow.
So he showed me, no, this is the gear, this is the clutch, and what. Then I told him, say, can you ride me to the road leading to Zambia? So he took me to the road leading to Zambia, pumped in fuel, full tank in the tank, and put a container of fuel behind. Said, I'm riding to Zambia.
As a learner rider?
As a learner rider.
Without a license?
Without a license. That is how crazy it was. Rode the bike the first time in a foreign land, started riding, learned riding on my way back to Zambia. Unfortunately, I had an accident, okay, not really an accident, but a breakdown. At a place which was a park, but fast forward, I managed to get to the border when I was picked by a truck, by a bus. We managed to get to the border. Then from the border, then I decided I'll not ride anymore. So I had to put on a truck to Lusaka. But that just goes to explain how radical I am in terms of seeing how we can monetize every opportunity which is there. So the bike landed at 4,800, and at the border then it was duty free.
Wow.
Yes, because I think they were promoting motorbikes or something. Then I don't know if it is the case now or not, I don't know. But then it was duty free. So I landed the bike for 4,800, delivered it, and I was paid the 3,000 balance. So my approach has almost always been radical. Hence the name.
Great.
The Radical Entrepreneur.
You always say that entrepreneurship is the way to go.
Yeah.
To change the economy of the country.
Yeah.
Where did you get that idea from?
All right. So, well, it is not even an issue of getting that idea. I think it is just the reality on the ground.
Okay.
You will see that when our forefathers, graduated, it was very easy for them to get a job.
Yeah.
And it was for a simple reason. Zambia had two universities, the Copperbelt and
Unza.
So if you graduated, a job was waiting for you. But now Zambia has over 50 registered universities. So getting a job has become very difficult. And this cuts across all different professions. Teachers, if you graduated as a teacher now, you might have to wait for at least 50 years before you are posted at the current rate. Lawyers, same story.
Yeah.
And now we've seen the creme de la creme, the medical doctors, who've been behind the desk for 7 years, now carrying placards for them to be employed. So jobs are difficult to find.
Yeah.
So it calls for us to redefine the narrative and reposition ourselves to see how we can pick ourselves going forward. Right. Otherwise, the story is different. So the story of entrepreneurship is no longer an option. It is something that we seriously have to consider.
Are entrepreneurs born or made?
Okay. Any entrepreneur can be made. Any person can be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And in the literal sense, any person who has interest can be an entrepreneur.
There's no such thing as, I'm gifted, I'm talented, I was born an entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah, well, there are people who are born with traits that favor entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Those who are extroverts, those that are outspoken, naturally make better entrepreneurs than introverts. But not necessarily that one is born an entrepreneur and one is not. What sharpens one to become an entrepreneur is sometimes association, the content that you read, the people that you associate with, and all. I have friends who never thought they could be entrepreneurs, but because of our interaction, they are now, entrepreneurs. And you realize one thing: if you are born in an environment, or you're in an environment of people thinking in a particular way, inevitably those people begin thinking, and that is why you'd have the person running the biggest church in the world. Is it Lakewood? There's a pastor called Joe Austin. The father was a pastor and is now a pastor. Is it that he was born with the blood of being, a minister? No, I think it was an issue of association. Kenyatta, the president of Kenya, the father was the president. Is it that he was born with the DNA of politics? No, it was just an issue of association. And you realize that the Indians who are entrepreneurs, when they have their children tend to delve more in entrepreneurship. Yes.
Run businesses.
That's the thing. And that is why you would also see parents who are medical doctors. Sometimes, normally, you would find that one or two of their children would get into that particular field. It is just an issue of association. I think that is what pushes us in a particular direction. So it has nothing to do with, being born an entrepreneur or not. But of course, there are certain traits that favor entrepreneurship. Creativity and all those are traits that favor entrepreneurship, but not really that one is born an entrepreneur and the other one is not.
What are some of the skills that are a must-have for an entrepreneur? You've talked about being an extrovert, outspoken, able to speak. What are some of the skills that you think these are a must for every entrepreneur to have? For people who are watching and they say, I would love to be an entrepreneur, or I'm an entrepreneur, but what are some of the skills that are a must?
All right. Your ability to sell is the single most important attribute that you need to build. Selling is a key component in entrepreneurship. So if you're to succeed as an entrepreneur, you need to sharpen your skills in sales. Now, how do you sharpen your skills in sales? There's so much content that you can follow. There are people who share on selling that you can follow, or you can follow myself. The Radical Entrepreneur on YouTube. And I share quite a bit on selling and maybe many other topics on entrepreneurship. So, and there are a number of books that you can read on sales. So it is extremely important that you take advantage of that and utilize that. You cannot be a successful entrepreneur if you do not sharpen your skills in sales. Yes. Right. And by the way, selling is a natural thing to all of us. We are born trying to convince. That is why when you want something from your mother, you sell by crying. It is just a way of getting their attention and having them do what you want. So it is selling. So selling has been there for much of our lives. It's only that sometimes you don't get to build just to build on it. And you realize that at some point, at a certain age, as a teen and whatnot, you might want your parents to get you something. The only way you can get them to get you something, you sell. You sell why they should get you that.
Yeah.
So selling has always been part of us. It's only that at a certain point, we just stop developing it and we let it slide. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, you and I have something in common. A lot of things in common, actually, but I want to stress this out. You have passion to see a developed country, developed Zambia, developed Africa, and developed individuals, which is something I'm passionate about as well. Now, the question I have for you is, what do you think we must do as Zambians to change the economic picture of the country?
All right. So the starting point would be all of us rising to the occasion and realizing that a better life for oneself is dependent on yourself as a person.
Yeah.
You see, we've lived so much with the notion that my success is dependent on the government, and that is why we have things like Boma Yanganepo and whatnot. We need to realize that the economy that we are in is more of a capitalist economy. We've moved from the communist economy that we seemed to have had back then, where the government was providing free education, free books, free meals, free that, to one where, it's a free market, arrangement. But the challenge is people have still remained with that notion of a communist arrangement. And that's why we keep saying, no, Boma Yanganepo, when there is this Boma Yanganepo, we need to realize that your success is dependent on you as a person. And there is no corporate poverty, actually. There's no corporate poverty. You can't say we are poor, say you are poor. The moment you take things personal, the better for you. Because we have this thing of wanting to blame others for our failure. So the starting point rather is for us to own up and realize that the bright future is on you as a person. The moment you take full responsibility is the moment you will start seeing things, getting better in your life. So that is the starting point. Now that we have opted to start working and now we have owned up and realized that, you see, success is really individual, and that is why you'd have two people born from the same parents. One becomes successful, another one doesn't. One becomes super rich, the other one remains poor. Same parents, and the same thing is explained in government. Governments will change and change, or whatever happens, your poverty will still be your own issue. So it has nothing like, guide the government. It is you as a person who should then see how you can change yourself. So own up, number one. Number two, let us realize that success is not acquired. Success is created. If we continued thinking that success is acquired, what that does is that it makes you then realize that the success of another person reduces the chances of your success. So as a consequence, if you keep thinking that success is acquired, it is like, gold. When there's, gold placed somewhere. When you pick a bunch of gold from that and another one picks, when another one picks from there, the picking of that gold by other people is reducing the chances of you picking more gold. Now that is acquiring. When you acquire gold that way, that is acquiring. But success is not like that. It is not like there is a pool where, we go to get success. No. Success is not acquired.
It's created.
It is created.
That's powerful.
So
That's powerful.
My success doesn't reduce your chances of success. In fact, it increases your chances of success. So we need to realize that. Now, because we've remained with this notion that success is acquired, we do not want others to succeed. And we keep trampling on each other and we make enemies of ourselves.
Great. That's so powerful. And I feel that's the reason why you came up with the Institute, so that you can empower others, teach others, give them the skills that they need for them to be successful. Now, talking about DLN Institute, how was it born? Were you funded?
No. So it was self-funded, actually. I personally funded it. Though, of course, the initial plan was, we were supposed to come in, the five of us. But you see, sometimes people give stories and, it just ended on stories. So as a result, we never got to progress as fast as I would have wanted us to progress. And this just goes to tell one thing. You might have that brilliant idea and you want this one to come on board and that one to come on board.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is up to you to just get started. Those that want to come, they'll come on board and they'll join you later on. Yeah. So that's how you go about it. Yeah. So that's how it was, funded. But the coming about of the institute, we realized that people need knowledge. People need to know how to build businesses. People need the skills. Yeah. And we seemed to have been lacking, the skills. So we set up the institute to have people who are successful entrepreneurs lecture others on how to succeed. Because you see, you can read books from the States, but you see, their cases are not our cases here.
Yeah, that's true.
Their circumstances are totally different from our circumstances here. That side, they'll say, you see, I started from the bottom, life was so hard. I started, my business with one car. I used to sleep in the car. Listen up, a car is a luxury here. Yeah. And we are complaining.
We don't even have cars here.
No, I started from the bottom. I used to sleep in the car. Do you know what you're talking about? So sometimes their examples may not apply here because our circumstances are totally different. So we needed people who have succeeded here to tell us on how to make it in our Zambian setup. So that's how we came about with the institute. And you see, we've had this notion of people wanting to say, no, I do not have financial capital. Financial capital is not the most important form of capital. I've said this several times. Intellectual capital is the most important form of capital. Because if financial capital is the most important form of capital, then those that got their pensions would have become successful. Those that got loans would have become successful. Those that got their savings would have become successful. But they got those and still failed flat out. Why? They did not have the skills. So DLN Entrepreneurship Institute is one such place where you are trained practically on how to become a successful entrepreneur.
He's trying to do marketing on my show right now. He's trying to sell right now. I know that vibe. I know that energy. Now, let's get into the real life questions that I ask all my guests. And see how you do on this one. What would you say is your leadership style like?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. People have different leadership styles, but for me, I don't know how I would call it because it is not amongst those academic leadership styles. But mine is more of a circle. So we come together. There's no boss. There's no, lower person. If that is put, it is just put for administrative purposes. I believe in a style where, we put our ideas together, bring our ideas together and see how we can progress there. And you are promoted based on what you put on the table in terms of ideas and how creative you are. Okay. So it moves from the, academic arrangement, all that is out, but how creative you can and how much you are contributing to the organization.
Great. What are your core values in life?
All right, so my core values are consistency, integrity, reliability and respect.
Okay. What are your driving forces in life?
My driving force is really to see how I can make an impact and leave this world a better place than I found it.
Great. What's the most important thing you've learned in life so far?
The most important thing that I've learned in life is that you can achieve that which you envision to achieve. Okay. Provided you are willing to commit to the commitment that you have placed.
I like that. That's powerful right there. What would you say was your biggest failure and how did you learn from it?
All right. My biggest failure, it's an interesting one. I'm trying to see which one is the biggest failure. I would have said the biggest loss. Well, which would turn into the biggest failure anyway. I was running a transport company, then one of my trucks was involved in a tragic accident, which led to the closure of my transport company. Then, of course, there were a number of factors there. The driver had 8 unauthorized passengers who were badly injured. People looted government maize at the accident scene, over 600 bags of maize. So it was a massive loss. But foolishly on my side, I had not insured the truck.
Wow.
So the biggest lesson that I learned was, to manage the risk. I was this risk appetite guy. But that loss taught me one thing, to say we need to manage the risk. For things that can be insured, let them be insured. For things that can be leveraged, let them be leveraged. For things that can be avoided, let them be avoided. And, you know, be a reasonable risk taker.
Great. And if you could turn back the time and speak to the 18-year-old Dumisani, what would you tell him?
18-year-old Dumisani, I think I would say, son, keep pushing.
Yeah.
The future is bright.
Yeah.
You see, the universe has a way of conspiring to create a way for one who is, you know, who is where they are going. The challenge that we tend to have is, as teens, you know, the direction is not so clear.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can't find your way out if you've not, you know, created that space for yourself. Know where you are going and chase that dream.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I know you've hosted big conferences. The president has been one of your, you know, guests there. You built the DLN Institute, and you've done amazing things. What would you say is your biggest accomplishment so far that you're most proud of?
Wow. The biggest accomplishment, which may not be, you know, financial, I would say the institute. I think I derive so much satisfaction from DLN Entrepreneurship Institute for a simple reason. Many lives have been impacted, and of course, you know, financial have had, you know, companies that have achieved so great. Nothing to what the institute can actually, you know, give, but the institute has given me so much satisfaction, and I feel a lot more satisfied and accomplished because of it. Why? Because lives have been redefined, lives have changed. I've seen people who came in as mere students, and now they are doing phenomenal things in the business world. And we have just, you know, the impact that we have made, I think really satisfies my soul to the uttermost.
Great. That's awesome. That's marvelous, and I can attest to that fact, because now people's understanding has been enlightened, especially concerning, you know, entrepreneurship, ideas, how to go about in the real world. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
How I wish I'd watched your show to the full so that I would know some of these questions, because they're like, oh, have I even thought about that? Well, I would say Strive. Masiwa, I think he did phenomenal things in Zimbabwe, and we seem to come, you know, from the same environment, under similar circumstances, and just how he managed to rise from that to where he is, I think that is quite phenomenal. Barack Obama, I think it would be great to also have an opportunity to be at his feet and you know, share notes on how he managed to rise to become the first black president. And Elon Musk, I find him quite interesting. You know, he's a very interesting brain. Just how he managed to get from South Africa, get to have, you know, a Canadian citizenship, I think, and also the United States citizenship, and the phenomenal things that he's actually been able to do under Tesla and whatnot. I think he's a phenomenal guy that I would really wish to interact with.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, trying to see how to phrase this question so it doesn't sound like a boom, boom, boom. Okay, so there are a lot of people who are doing what you do. A lot of speakers out there, a lot of entrepreneurs out there, a lot of teachers, a lot of business people. But what has made you exceptional and outstanding?
Well, I wouldn't really know, except if those that are watching, you know, the different speakers and, you know, presenters, maybe if they could say what it is that has made me exceptional. But I would like to believe in that I didn't become a speaker because I wanted to become a speaker, or maybe because I wanted to, you know, just speak. So for me, I was on the opposite side. I have always been an entrepreneur. But then circumstances led me to want to have many more Zambians become entrepreneurs. So the part of sharing on entrepreneurship was secondary. So I had this wealth background of enterprising. So that is why when you have an opportunity to share notes and when I have an opportunity to speak, I speak from a rich background of enterprising. The losses that I had and how I solved a couple of challenges and whatnot. So there is that rich background, and I think it is that background that has maybe made me exceptional.
Great.
I would like to believe so, based on what I've heard others say. Yeah.
Awesome. On a lighter note, what do you do in your free time?
In my free time, okay. This is quite. I love music.
Okay.
Yeah, I love music. I would listen to music. But outside that, because I'm not a movie person, I'm not a soccer person, and I think for me, work is fun to me. In fact, I'm still looking forward to the day that I work. Because, I think for me, work is fun. And if you looked at most of the trips that I've had, there would be a component of work and fun at the same time. So for me,
that's your lifestyle.
It's my lifestyle.
Tell me
it's
about
my
your
lifestyle.
typical day. Like, are there some success rituals that you do?
Well, except the fact that when I wake up, I do read.
Okay, so you read?
I do read quite a bit. There's one thing that I've been struggling, but inconsistently, I've been trying to exercise. Okay. But I find it quite tough. So I've had cases where I pay at the gym.
I can be a trainer.
Yeah, well, I see that, you've actually been doing pretty well in that space. So I ended up getting, gym equipment home, trying to see how I can be consistent, but it hasn't been so easy. But that's one thing that I've really been trying to see how I can be consistent. But I can say that I've actually been, progressing in that space. Yeah. So if there's any ritual that I have been consistent on is reading.
Great.
Yeah.
Your favorite book of all time?
My favorite book of all time? I'd say Blue Ocean Strategy. Okay. Yeah, Blue Ocean Strategy.
By who?
Chan.
Okay.
Yes, I think you can look it up.
It's
an intellectual book though, so you might have to engage your brains. It is not one of those books which are motivational. You can make it search inside, in your heart, where you can't even find stuff. Yeah, but it's an intellectual book, so it will engage your brains, but very, very good for business, for those that want to get into business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
movie. Yeah, there's a movie that I watched occasionally. I would watch a movie, but there's one that I watched many years back, 3 Idiots. It's a very interesting. Oh, you know it?
I know it. It's one of my favorite of all time.
All-time favorite for me.
Have you checked out the Men Who Built America?
No.
You need to check it out.
Is it?
It's a bomb.
It's a bomb?
So it's got a series of the John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Tesla is there.
Oh, okay. Is that a movie or a book?
Ford. So it's a documentary.
Okay.
Yeah, of how America was built. It's amazing.
Is it there on YouTube or something?
It is on YouTube. But I can still organize something for you.
Oh, cool stuff.
Yeah,
cool
great.
Stuff. All right.
So as we end the interview, first of all, what's your favorite meal?
Oh, I take fish. It seems to be the only thing that has blood that I take.
Okay.
Yeah, so because I let go of chicken, beef, and whatnot. Yeah, so a dish that has fish seems to be,
Amazing.
The one for me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are ladies out there who are, eyeing you and crushing on you. Handsome, rich guy, intelligent, and humble. Are you married?
I wish I was. I wish I was.
What are you waiting for, man?
No, God will provide. Who knows? Maybe it will be from your platform that we'll finally meet Mrs. Right.
Great. Your final words to people who aspire to become like you, people who get to be inspired, want to get into this entrepreneurship world. What are your words to them?
Back in the days, you see, we had this notion that being employed is safer than running a business, because when you're employed, the risk is lower, and you are so set for a pension and whatnot. But if you did run a business, you are seen to be a high risk taker. But now tables have turned around. If you are one who wants to be employed, you are a risk taker. Because searching for a job is a full-time job in itself. It's a tough space to be in. And if two people graduated at the same time, then one decided to enterprise with their skills and one decided to search for a job. It takes an average of 6 years to get a job in Africa. So you might have to run around for 6 years on average. Now imagine how much you could achieve in that 6 years if you decided to enterprise. And if anything, unless if you're to be employed by the government, you are still a high risk taker if you're to be employed. Because me as a businessman, if the economy is crashing, just as it happened during the COVID era, before I could be knocked out of business, I first had to fire, retrench, and reduce the workforce. So those who thought they are not risk takers, actually they are high risk takers. And this is the story across. And you might think, no, it is just maybe him. You look at the banks around. Because of the digital space and whatnot, some banks have been closing branches around. And who are the ones suffering? It is those who are the bank tellers, those who are the branch managers, those are the people who are being retrenched. But what of the entrepreneurs who are the owners of the banks? They're still there and they're still minting. So let us realize that being an entrepreneur, yes, it is a risk, but it is a lesser risk now than being employed.
I love this man, ladies and gentlemen. Always on point, delivering bombs of information. But so you can. There's a show coming up.
Oh yeah, there's a show coming up.
Talk about it, man. Talk about it.
Oh, the Radical Entrepreneur Show. In fact, pass me that pillow. It is not part of the set. Someone to grab me the pillow.
Let's sell this thing, man. Let's sell this thing.
There's a show coming up. The Radical Entrepreneur Show. It'll be coming in on YouTube, and we'll share with you the TV stations where this show will be showing.
Good.
So you can subscribe to my channel. The Radical Entrepreneur. Then later this year we'll be having a conference.
Awesome.
No, Africa Must Think.
I'm looking forward to that big conference that is coming up in October, right?
October, yes. Africa Must Think conference. It will be taking place at the stadium on the 31st of October. We'll be meeting there and we'll be dissecting a couple of things there.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, this man right here is a real deal. He's a game changer. I love him so much. I listen to him. I follow him. And we had an interesting conversation. I believe that you've been inspired, you've been informed. Thank you very much for allowing me to interview you today.
No, the pleasure is mine. And please continue doing what you're doing. The Real Life Show is indeed about real stuff. And please continue doing what you're doing. I'm proud of your works.
Thank you.
And proud of what you have become. Please keep being you, and all the best.
That's how we do on the Real Life Show. We'll bring you the best of the best. Keep watching the Real Life Show. Stay safe and God bless you. Peace.
Hi, this is Dumisani Ncube, commonly known as the Radical Entrepreneur. I would encourage you to watch, subscribe, and follow the Real Life Show because real stuff happens there.